Hi and welcome to our next episode in Coaching Insights Q&A. This time round we've got two of our most prolific coaches from the north who are also very, very talented Masters athletes themselves. We've got Ian and Amanda Broadhurst. Thank you so much for joining us, guys.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Welcome, Zoe.
It's really, really good to kind of catch up with everybody during this time. So obviously the lockdown has affected people in many different ways. Tell us a little bit about how you've adapted your lifestyles.
With regards to training, it hasn't affected us so badly. We've been able to use a school car park, country lanes nearby, our own back garden and drive. And then we've now been cycling a wee distance down the road to a rugby pitch so we can actually put spikes back on and do some running on the grass. Amanda's been using the concrete car park to do shot putting from. So at home we've got weights, mini bands, exercise bands, poles, plyo box that my son made for us. So apart from not being able to get to track and do track work and meet up with the group, it's been okay-ish. So
you've kind of been quite innovative and creative during this time.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, it's we were fortunate that we have the equipment at home to do the things that we need to do, and
the sessions themselves haven't changed an awful lot, really, for us. I don't think from what we probably would have been doing a running session on the track anyway. Really,
obviously the intensity has to come down a wee bit. Well, not so much the intensity, but the effort level is there, but your return is not as great because of the surfaces that you're running on and the. Although you can come down with some PBs because 100 meters being marked by my feet. I can do it inside just under 9 seconds now. So I'm getting quicker. They're being locked down. And then
it's good for pigeon toes are a wonderful thing.
With the group, it's been a bit more challenging because we've had to get a bit more IT savvy to try to include the group. We've been running Skype circuit sessions twice a week, which have been proving quite popular. And then we do WhatsApp challenges for them as well, where they post on their results. So they got some bragging rights with regards to that. And individual challenges, well, they often video themselves whilst they're doing it, so we can give them some kind of friendly critique on that when that comes back into us. And then we check in them on a weekly basis as well on their own WhatsApp account. Because we kind of think that at this period of time, it isn't just the psychological barriers you're having to overcome. There's quite a physiological barriers as well. Sorry, the psychological barriers as well. And it's trying to make sure that people are still staying committed and connected and coping with their own lockdown with the stresses of work or working from home and school, relationships. It's just a weird time for everybody.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that you will kind of adopt some of these new innovative practices moving forward? Kind of obviously the lockdown and how we unlock the sport is going to be perhaps a slower process than what people would like. Do you think you're going to retain this true style of coaching?
I think it will have to initially, at least.
The circuits in particular, I think we probably will continue to do them on Skype because obviously we used to do those in a school gymnasium. So that's not going to be available probably till at least September in terms of that anyway. So I think that's a good way just to stay in touch and keep everybody motivated together still.
Yeah, I think it seems that the consideration around what athletics or how athletics serves a community, it's maybe our perception of what it was and what it did has changed. For me, like having had lots of conversation with coaches, and they really miss being with people.
Yeah, it's it's a nice thing about Skype. You can obviously connect with people and talk to them. But similar to this, it can be a bit stilted because you're waiting for the conversation to come back and come forth, and you can't really get the connection that you're used to. And when 3 or 4 people are trying to talk at once on Skype, then it's just hopeless. It's so we have to have a question and answer to each individual first of all, and then so it's it's different and nowhere near as nice, but it's an effective way to get our messages across at the moment.
Yeah, it keeps things moving, although it makes me more wooden than normal. But
Yeah, especially when the screen freezes and you're like that for half an hour.
Yeah, hopefully it's not freezing in a awkward facial position. But no, I think it's great that coaches are looking at new ways of being innovative, and during this time it's kind of an opportunity to, I guess, work on your problem solving skills, and almost advocating that within your athlete community. How have they adapted the way that they are approaching their own training?
It's been massively different for each and every one, I think, just due to their own personal circumstances and, to be honest, where they live. Some have only access to, say, a potholed country lane. Others are close to a school field that they can use. So it has. When we do training, we try and make the sessions individual for the individual. And this is highlighted even more now because you're having to limit your sessions to what they have available to do their sessions on. So it just makes it that much more unique for them, really, rather than anything else.
It's making them a little bit more accountable, I think, as well, for their own training, which possibly they weren't before lockdown, that they have to find their own solutions rather than rely on their coach to do it for them all the time.
In the long run, that actually might be a positive.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes, sorry, go on ahead.
Sorry, I think if people can come out of this and feel as if they may have lost, say, 5 or 10%, but if that's all that they've lost, they then realize that going to the track isn't always necessary. So if situations demand that they can't get there, they now have alternative methods of keeping themselves almost, if not, race ready. So it's adding to people's arsenal of what they can use now in the future.
And it removes the excuses.
Yeah.
Yes.
Having been an athlete myself, I have quite a lengthy repertoire of excuses. Especially when it came to the more kind of aerobic based sessions.
Yeah.
No, it's great. It's great to hear kind of how you're adapting and the athletes are adapting. Kind of getting a little bit more into the background of how you got into coaching. I'll start with Ian. What was your kind of journey into coaching?
It's most likely going to be fairly similar.
Okay.
We kind of fell into it, really. We both wanted to extend our knowledge base and try and make the training that we were doing more specific to our needs. The group that we were in at that time was more of on the development side, and they were still trying to get their training base going, whereas we had the training base and we wanted to be doing specific, more intensive training, if you like. So I'd done my assistant club coach course many years ago. Then we came in at the end of the level 2 era and got qualified through speed. And the reason why we took the coaching then is because when we started to do this training by ourselves and get the knowledge base up, a couple of athletes came along and asked if they could join us. And that kind of put a commitment on your shoulders that I should know what I'm talking about now rather than just spouting stuff that I think I know about. So we did the level 2 and did a couple of the modules in jumps and throws. And then since then, we've kind of gone around the country with the backing of Wrexham Athletic Club and attended quite a few different conferences. We've been to the IFACs up in Glasgow 3 or 4 occasions, and the Welsh conference, Scottish conference, English conference, and went to a couple of the European speeds and European hurdles conferences. Just basically sponge-like, trying to find as much knowledge as we can do from various sources and trying to come out then with a philosophy that we think that we can work for ourselves.
Interesting. So yourself and Amanda, have you kind of traveled that journey together?
Yeah, Amanda. We did. Although we were both athletes to start with, the coaching side of things is since we got together as a couple as well. So we have done it as a couple, and it's always been something that we've done together.
Do you think being a couple and being do you think being a couple and being involved in athletics has been a positive thing that's almost kept you in the sport longer?
Depends when you ask us.
Very good.
When we disagree, no.
Oh, don't worry. I can relate. I can relate.
Yeah.
It's athletics is a passionate sport.
Yeah. Yes, with no right or wrong answers, only opinions, and that makes it even worse.
Indeed, it's a challenge. Diplomacy is something which I think that potentially a lot of athletes lack at times. That's hilarious. So I know that your journey as athletes and as coach is almost kind of embedded within each other. Were there any kind of coaching influences out, actual sort of coaches themselves rather than the conferences that you kind of pulled information from or were mentored in some kind of loose fashion?
Mentioned about David and Williams for them.
Yeah, we've never really had a mentor as such. It's not a road that we've gone down particularly, though we've learned a lot. I think my biggest influence actually goes back to my very first coach, who was David Williams from Wrexham. He coached me from when I started at the club at 9 years old, right through until I was 13, 14, and I moved on to a different group then. But that was the early 80s, the very early 80s, and he was very
1980s.
he was very he really wanted us to, even at that time, had a very run jump throw philosophy, and it was whatever the boys did, the girls did as well. There was no differentiation there, which was something that I hadn't come across before. I triple jumped. I did triple jump as an 11-year-old girl when it wasn't even an event at that time, because that was what the boys were doing, and there was no reason why I shouldn't be doing it as well as far as he was concerned. And I think that's definitely the whole run, jump, throw. Obviously, my journey into multi-events has come from that as well. So I think I owe a lot of my influence to him, actually.
Yeah, I didn't really have any, again, no mentors as such. So the biggest influences on me have been people who I've had the chance to meet and talk to at the conferences. So Kelvin Giles, back in Glasgow in 2010, his idea then of physical literacy kind of took me a step back to make you realize that you have to be able to do what you want to do on the track before you can do what you want to do on the track. it's, you know, you've got to be able to control your body. You can't just turn up and rock down there and think I'm going to be a sprinter, I'm going to be a jumper. If you can't control your body and do basic movement patterns, anything that you're going to try to do on the track is going to be amplified incorrectly so much. So he was a big eye opener for me. And Vern Gambetta as well, who we've met a few times now. Again, just kind of open your eyes. Someone who's so enthusiastic but so knowledgeable about his topic, and even when he's talking to you away from the stage, that enthusiasm is still there to put across to you how passionate he is about his craft. And then the only other two people really, Kevin Tyler and Derek Everly. We met them, I think it was, or met Kevin Tyler, I think it was at Welsh Conference. And we got talking to him after the conference had finished. And he spent, it must have been up to half hour to an hour talking to us about what he did and what he believed in. And he was asking us about where we were in our coaching journey and what we were trying to do. And then he very kindly asked us, invited us and our group down to Loughborough to spend a day with him. And then he press ganged Derek Everly into helping him as well. And the idea was he wanted to see us taking our group, and he was going to try and help us along to work things out. But in the end, he got so involved that as well as helping us, he was helping the group we had as well. And what was supposed to be an hour or 2 hour visit ended out to be nearly 8 hours of solid training for them. So they came home quite tired at the end of the day.
I'm sure. I would say it was probably a valuable experience for everyone involved.
Oh, it was yeah,
definitely
tremendous. Yeah, it's, and on the mental side, a friend who I've got to know through Masters Athletics, Steve Peters, and the Chim Paradox author. He's helped us quite a lot. Yeah, I was going to tell you a story about him, but I won't because you'll kill me. So he's helped us with our own mental side and with regards to helping the group. So that's worked out really well for us as well. And locally, Dennis Doyle, he kind of not so much influenced us, but he challenged us so much because he gave us the opportunity to do some sessions for an event group up in North Wales. And then the feedback he gave afterwards and the questions that he challenged us with at the end of the sessions, it kind of makes you think about things that you were doing automatically, just made you realize why you were doing them, if they were good, if they were bad, and how to perhaps adapt your presentation or some words that you may use or may not use. So
it sounds like you've had quite, I guess you're very open to that challenge, which for a kind of developing coach, I don't think as coaches we ever stop developing, and it's great to hear that you have that kind of really open kind of approach to your coaching, but also being influenced, as you say, by different people, and it's amazing. It's really, really fantastic. Your group, it always interests me whenever I hear coaches who have a spectrum of athletes, from kind of youth athletes to masters athletes. What do you think is the difference between kind of a junior developing athlete and senior athletes?
I don't think, to be honest, there's that much.
Not between developing and masters athletes, certainly.
No, most of the sessions that we do will go around on quality rather than quantity anyway. So that kind of fits into masters athletes and into developing athletes as well. the main differences tend to be the attention span of a developing athlete is on a par with a gnat. So it's unless
I like that. Can I use that, please?
yeah, unless you are constantly changing or doing something different, you'll have lost them inside sort of 5 seconds. Trying to disengage them from social media and mobile phones can be a challenge, as can their language. Not as a language being fruity, just to understand what they're saying can be a challenge. And then when you get to the wrinklies, they can be far more and less willing to accept change. So that it's those kind of barriers which are different. That they not so much the exercise that they're going to do or the sets they're going to do, because the sessions that we set in general will be similar for all age groups. It's just that they will do perhaps different number of sets and different number of reps over a different distance, but we'll be wanting to achieve at the end of the session the same from all the people who've taken part. So it's
it's great that
we like
great that you
quite a lot as well. So
it's great that you consider the complete athlete and you know the psychosocial elements. That's what comes across from what you've said, that it's not so much about the training and programming, although there are nuances for different individuals with different strengths or weaknesses or injuries or prone to injuries. But from a psychosocial point of view, dealing with different generations and how they tick in what they see as their kind of ways of working and the fixed and growth mindsets. It's quite interesting.
They'll be interested you brought up fixed and growth mindsets. We do have conversations about that.
Good. I promise we didn't talk before the interview, guys. I'm sorry. That's all Carol Dweck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it also helps in the dynamic in the group, because they're sort of young dudes and old guys. It kind of gets a bit competitive, that the old guys don't want to be beaten by the youngsters, and the youngsters want to beat the old guys, and the girls don't want to be left behind. They want to be beaten. They won't be beaten either. So it forms a good competitive basis. You know, even though people may not be at the same standard, because we do a lot of our runs are, as Amanda was saying, that handicap runs. So if you're starting 20 meters ahead of somebody else, you do not want that person to catch you, even though they have got perhaps 30 or 40 years on you. And it does make it a bit more interesting, we think.
So you're using the kind of the group dynamic to benefit the athletes from almost a competitive point of view.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
So do you think that being kind of successful, competitive international athletes yourselves, do you think that kind of inspires the kind of your group to, well, not it inspires, but also kind of that they are encouraged, or they are like you get better buy-in because you practice what you preach? That's where I'm trying to go with this.
Yeah, I think very much so. I think it's yeah, I've got the bragging rights. I mean, they may be able to beat me at over certain distances, obviously faster times than me, but I'm the only British champion and British record holder in the group, so they still can't take that away from me. It's yeah, we understand, because we still do the sessions ourselves, we understand to a greater or lesser degree the pain that they're going through, so we can empathize with that. Yeah. We're not just giving them sessions, say, come on, get on with it, it's anyone can do this. If I'm on my knees and I'm desperately looking for a bucket, then I know that they're going to be fairly close behind me as well. It's and we're up to date with current protocols ourselves, with competing, admittedly at Masters, but we're competing at, say, at national and international level. So we know about warm-up protocols, we know about call rooms, drug control and testing, and the race day demands on the athletes as well. We're not just, we haven't just read that in a book or seen it from a distance. We've experienced it ourselves, so we're able to talk to our athletes on a more level playing field and say, no, we do understand what you're going through to a lesser or greater extent, and I think they can relate to that. Then that we can help them through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That relatability must be, I would say it's probably quite valuable for everyone. They must feel a great sense of belonging working with you guys.
I suppose you'd have to ask them that. Yeah.
They may be
I'm
sick.
sure they did. And so, kind of wrapping it up, give me or give us as a wider community your kind of 5 top tips for developing coaches, so people who want to progress on their coaching journey.
We'd have to go for a coach's mashup rather than 5. So there's a bit
We'll go with a mashup. I love a mashup.
Okay, good. Okay. I'm not going to wrap it though. I'll say those. We think you should ask and seek advice, but you must form your own opinion. Don't just take the advice that you've been given. Make sure it fits with what you're going to do. And to be open to new ideas, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know, the next brand new shiny thing doesn't necessarily going to be the next best thing. Part of it could work, but so could part of what you have been doing. So again, mix and mashing there. There's very rarely one way of doing something correctly. So be open-minded and be prepared to think outside the box. The one I like the best, I think, for myself is don't copy and paste is not coaching. So because you did it last year and the year before and the year before and the year before, it may be work, but maybe something else needs tinkling with it to make it right. Be aware of who you're coaching. There should always be room for individuals within a session, and that includes listening and talking to them. And never think you know it all. Be open to challenges and keep on learning. That's about 5, wasn't it?
It was around about 5, and they're very, very brilliant pieces of advice and guidance. They're probably very, very well, yeah. I think it applies to every coach. Someone who's new, someone who's current, depending on where your aspirations lie. I think that if you were to follow that guidance, then you would definitely kind of be coaching the right level for the person in front of you.
Good.
No, it's fantastic. I'm just basically saying what you said was amazing. No, thank you so much. It's been really insightful getting a bit of a behind the scenes look into your kind of coaching and athlete life. And I know that everybody will be interested to kind of hear, how you've become the duo that you are. And I know there's a lot of people out there who see you on the Welsh circuit and the Master circuit all the time, and it's just want to say that you did a fantastic job of supporting new athletes, and obviously as development athletes yourself. I just wanted to say, amazing.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you in person at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know when that's gonna be, but good luck with all the training, and you're doing, as I said, the things you're doing for your group and supporting them virtually and psychologically, keeping everybody together. just want to yeah, say thanks, and yeah, Welsh Aesthetics really appreciate you, and I appreciate you. Thanks
Thank you
very much, guys.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.